Cairo, a great city on a great river. The city stands strong as a testament to its region's status of Egyptian grandeur. But wait, where are the pyramids? Or the Sphinx? Why are there two rivers instead of one? Isn't it supposed to be a desert? Fine, I'll give you my money since you're being so insistent with that knife. Cairo's first municipal charter and the Bank of Cairo's charter were first issued in 1818, but this initial attempt led to no settlement. The City of Cairo was established during a second, more successful venture. Cairo was built during a time of increased interest in Egyptian culture, hence the name. The city was built at the confluence of the Mississippi and Ohio rivers and was encircled almost entirely by levees. However, this settlement attempt fell apart by 1840. In 1842, Charles Dickens visited Cairo and decided to base a dystopian city called Eden off of Cairo from his work Martin Chuzzlewit, in which he described Eden as a swampy, disease-filled settlement rife with malaria and nearly deserted. Cairo steadily grew as an important port in the river trade system. By 1855, Cairo was connected to the Illinois Central Railroad, which led to further prosperity. A new charter was established in 1857, and Cairo flourished as a port near Chicago. Cairo was occupied by Union soldiers during the American Civil War, who used the city as a base for operations along the Mississippi. The war saw river trade decline in favor of the railroad, but Cairo adapted, with new industries such as lumber and agriculture coming to Cairo. Cairo became a railroad shipping hub, with many opulent mansions being built in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. However, in 1889, a rail bridge through Cairo sparked a mass decline in the river trade. In 1905, a second bridge was built, north of Cairo, in the town of Thebes. In 1900, Cairo had a population of 13,000, 5,000 of which were African American. 5% of all black residents in Illinois lived in Cairo at this point. Despite comprising such a large portion of the population, job and housing discrimination on basis of race were common. In 1905, an anti-lynching law was passed in Illinois. However, this did not stop a white mob from lynching William James, who was accused of murdering a white woman named Anna Pelly. Despite no evidence ever being found linking him to the crime, he was convicted due to the fact that he was, quote, large enough to commit the crime. The local sheriff attempted to bring James by train out of the city to receive a fair trial, but the mob intercepted them, bringing James back to Cairo, where an estimated 10,000 people had gathered at the intersection of Commercial Avenue and 8th Street. There, they attempted to hang James from a large steel arc. The rope broke, and James survived the lynching, only to be immediately shot over 500 times by the mob. They then dragged James's body to where Pelly was murdered, decapitated him, and put his head on a pole, sticking it in the ground. Then they burned his body. Still bloodthirsty, the mob began to search for James's friend, Arthur Alexander, who they believed was an accomplice in the crime, but could not find him, so settled for a white man who had been detained for murdering his wife, Henry Salzner. They hung him from a telegraph pole. The Illinois militia dispatched 11 companies to end the violence in Cairo. In 1914, a large floodgate called the Big Subway Gate was built, with levees completely encircling Cairo. After the Great Mississippi Flood of 1927, the levees were strengthened further. The 1937 Ohio River flood saw water levels reach a record 59.5 feet. To protect Cairo, the Big Subway Gate was closed, and a breach was blown in one of the levees to relieve pressure on the flood walls. After this, the flood walls and levees were raised to their current height. Cairo's population remained steady from the 30s to the 60s, but many of the old jobs in shipping, ferries and the railroads had left the city. By the late 1960s, most of Cairo's civil services, such as police, the fire department, and even the city's government, were dominated by white people, with African Americans facing frequent discrimination. On July 16, 1967, 19-year-old black American soldier Robert Hunt was found hung in the Cairo police station. The police said that he hung himself, but the black population of Cairo did not trust them and accused them of murder. Riots began by July 17th, with at least 40 riots breaking out in other major cities throughout the United States. Cairo's National Guard unit was activated to respond to the racial violence. On July 20th, one of the rioters' leaders told the all-white city council, "Cairo will look like Rome burning down if their demands were not met by the 23rd. The rioters demanded equal job opportunities, organized recreational programs for their children, and a stop to the constant discrimination and police brutality. The white population of Cairo organized into a group called the White Hats to respond to the rioting, but the White Hats only served to harass the black population even more. In early 1969, Cairo's civil rights activists came together to form the Cairo United Front to respond to bullying by the White Hats. The CUF had 7 major demands, including the appointment of a black police chief, a black assistant fire chief, and equal black-to-white ratio in city government. The summer of 1969 would see racial violence reach a peak as the White Hats and Cairo United Front clashed over and over again, eventually sparking Illinois Governor Richard Ogilvie to deploy the National Guard to restore peace. The Cairo United Front started a boycott against white-owned businesses in Cairo that would last for decades. In December, violence escalated again, with gunfights breaking out in the streets that even saw the chief of police getting shot, but surviving. He then resigned the next month, stating he did not have the physical or legal means to combat guerrilla warfare tactics. To enforce their boycott, members of the CUF would picket in front of businesses to discourage shoppers. In December of 1970, the city enacted a new ordinance banning picketing within 20 feet of businesses. This resulted in protests and more violence between police and protesters. In 1978, the Interstate 57 bridge across the Mississippi opened, putting the final nail in the coffin of a city that had been dying slowly for nearly half a century. Cairo's population was 15,203 in 1920. By 2020, it only had 1,733 people left. The city is attempting to turn its fate around, but the past few decades have been bleak. However, there is hope. People throughout Cairo and the surrounding Little Egypt region of Illinois are working to restore architectural landmarks like Riverlore Mansion or the Old Customs House, and build a tourism industry based off the city's rich history as a river and rail trading hub. Thanks for watching.